And today is all about meeting at the track leads of the Agile Online Summit, which is around the corner. So I'm going to attempt to do one sentence of each one of you, which is very, very tough. But we have Dustin here with us, and his motto is about understand and be understood. We have Greg Mester, well, that for you is midday by now because your show of 5 a.m. Scrum Master, which I highly recommend for everybody. You can also tune up in previous episodes in YouTube. And today you may tell us about one of your recent retro discoveries. I can see that you have some props with you. We have Faye as well, coach and champion of modern ways of working. And in Helen Garcia as well with us, which is Scrum Master, coach, AVPMP, and well, we'll discover a little bit more, and also a co-organizer for the summit. So at lightning speed, I'm going to ask you this question, and then what we're going to do, I'll say a name, and then you guys will pass the button so everybody gets the opportunity, which is, how did you get into Agile? And what do you do nowadays? Faye, would you like to go first?
Sure. I got into Agile with the team. We didn't even know that Agile existed, but we needed to work in a really quick and iterative way with our client. And so we would do a little bit of work, meet with them, review it, get some feedback, and go away, do a little bit of work, and come back about a day or day and a half later. Very, very low overhead. And then I learned after the fact that was Agile. So, and these days I'm working as a management consultant, typically as an Agile coach, sometimes Scrum Master, sometimes product owner and product coach. Yeah. Justin, why don't you go next?
Thanks, Faye. Yeah, my introduction to the Agile way of life was in the early 2000s. I worked at a company, and they decided to try this Scrum thing out. And it was funny because the only place they could put their board was in a closet. So every day for stand-up, we would have to meet in the closet and look at the board because you couldn't put the board out on the floor. So I've taken that, and I've tried to continue to help other people find better ways of working. And sometimes that's when I'm doing technical things. Other times I might be, coaching emerging technical leaders, other leaders in the organization, working with product owners. There's a lot of different ways that you can help influence and improve the environment to make sure that the teams can do their best. And that's in general where I spend my time focusing. All right, I'm going to pass it on over to Greg.
Hey, thanks. So I'm Greg Mester. How did I get in Agile? Basically, as a long time ago, I always realized that getting product in the customer's hands was priority number one, and then Agile just fit into that mantra. And today I'm in Philadelphia, PA. Go Phillies! So we'll talk about our thing later on today. And I have the happiness track for this activity. So it's been a while doing this stuff, and I just find Agile very fun and get to change things up. So it's pretty awesome. All right. So Helen, you want to go?
Yeah, thanks, Greg. So I guess my journey, I actually used to be a project manager. So I'm, a recovering project manager. I thought there's got to be a better way of doing this. Turns out there is, thank goodness. Ines actually was a bit of an inspiration of it because you started to work a bit more as a Scrum Master and stuff. And I realized, well, Ines is having fun at work and she seems to be getting results. Lo and behold, it turns out it's the team and it is fun. So that's where my journey started quite a few years back now. And what else about me? So now I'm sort of doing a lot of Scrum Mastery stuff. I do Agile coaching. And as Ines said sort of in the beginning, I'm actually a trained coach as well. So I do some cognitive behavioral coaching as well on stress management and just generally trying to help the team feel motivated and energized, because that seems to get good results and people are actually happy to come to work. So happy days.
Wow, well done. And that was a lightning speed. So nice one. The other thing that we have in common is that we have a mission. We are on a quest to evolve our practice. and we are soon entering to sort of the countdown to our Agile Online Summit year. What shall we expect?
Yeah, cool. So I wanted to actually touch a little bit on the keynotes as well, because we've got some really excellent speakers coming this year. But the difference, I think, this year for us and the Agile Online Summit is that we've got this focus on sustainability of the work that we do, happiness to the people that we sort of influence, and bringing the knowledge from all over the world to help us get there. So encompassing those tracks, which are the happiness track, the tools track, and the sustainability track, which I'll let the guys talk about in a second, because they'll do a much better job of that than me. And you know, it's a really exciting time, because obviously we're in a world, ever-changing world, and organizations and teams that just strive for change and getting the most value, as well as our customers, into the products that we deliver. So yeah, let me talk a little bit more about some of the keynotes, because that summarizes quite nicely what we're about at the moment. So I think hopefully most people have heard of the brilliant Johanna Rothman, known as the Master of Tools. That's how I'm branding her. Joanna is, as we know, offers a lot of frank advice for us and our tough problems, and you know, one of the reasons we really love her. So it's a really great keynote, and not one really to miss. And she is going to be kicking off our summit, so that's day one. I think it's I'm going to call out the wrong date now, but the 3rd of November. Embarrass myself. Day one of the summit. Then on day 2. Oh, it's the second. Is it the second?
2nd of November.
No, see, I did mess it up. Thanks, Faye. So it's the 2nd. Sorry, not the 3rd. The 2nd. Then on day 2, we've got the exceptional Anu Gopal, who is not only a coach, she does a million different things, member of the board of directors for the Scrum Alliance. She does amazing work behind the scenes for Women in Africa, and we'll hear a lot more about some of that stuff as well in her keynote. So she comes to us on day 2. Anu oozes passion that's super addictive within our organisations, and what we can do as individuals to help that with our teams as well. So that's pretty cool. And then just the last keynote, I'll just talk about her a little bit, is we've got Dr. Tamsin Woolley Barker, who is a real inspiration. Tamsin looks at nature and how we can nurture, you know, our behaviours and design, and how we can help our teams and as individuals to evolve to do things better. So that's also another one that's going to be an amazing note. So please don't miss those. But the super exciting thing is that we've got sandwiched in between those talks some fantastic speakers who are coming along, and I know that Faye, Greg, and Dustin have done some amazing work in sourcing those guys and looking through hundreds, tens of talks as we go through. So I'll hand over to Faye, if that's okay. I'll hand over to you if you want to talk a bit more about your track.
Yeah, so I have been curating a tools track, and for us it was important to think about tools in the broadest sense. So I went into this thinking tools and techniques, anything we can use to expand our toolbox when we engage with our clients or with our coworkers in whatever environment we're in. So I'm very excited that we're going to have a wide variety of talks, each addressing a tool or technique that I think attendees will be able to take back to work the very next day and use. We've got people talking about tips and tricks for better coaching, for better adopting an agile mindset. We've got people who are working on automating metrics collection to actually streamline their processes. So some of the data that we do collect, that we've got some tips and tricks for collecting that in Jira in a more streamlined fashion. We've got someone talking about their experience in prioritizing items by value in a government setting, which I really think will apply to everybody, not just government setting, but I think our friends who work in the public sector would find good value in that. Yeah, I've just had such a delight talking to everybody. And for anybody who is listening now, if you're not familiar with the format that the Agile Online Summit typically follows, they're a little bit more interactive, a little more conversational. And I find that format is very helpful in drawing out interesting tidbits. And I know that others mentioned as
well. What is in the pipeline? What's your goal with the track?
So the goal in the track is to try to incorporate more happiness into what we do and how we do this in an agile way. And the speakers, the presenters that we have bring different aspects of it. I mean, there's all kinds of things I wouldn't have thought of, and they're bringing it to the table. And the beautiful thing is that they're only like 20 minutes plus or minus. Yeah. May see a Bubbles in here somewhere. So I have Jerry on the picture. I gotta bring Bubbles in, and just woke her up. And I'll be honest with you, I'm wearing this Phillies because it's baseball season here. And one of the speakers the other day, I was prepping for this and went through it. And it actually inspired me to create live on my show, the 5 a.m. Master Scrum Show, a retro. I did it in 7 minutes or whatever, but just the idea of that concept, doing something new, just inspired me to write something. And what I'm really hoping is that these speakers that we have in the happiness will inspire everyone to bring more happiness, more fun activities into the workplace. And that's kind of what I'm hoping. And I'll be honest with you, some ones I'm listening to, they inspired me. So that is my goal with this group. And I think, with 20 minutes, you get enough information. Everyone's has enough capability to create their own things. And I think creating and incorporating happiness ideas and thoughts and concepts into what we do is really important as we work long hours. So,
yeah, if anything, we've been reminded life is perishable. So do what you love and love what you do.
Yes.
So how about sustainability, Dustin? As an Agile practitioner, what about sustainability? What does it mean? Why is it important? What's the context? What's your track? Tell us.
Yeah. So at the high level, pull up my little note here. So one of the things that people may have complained about with Scrum is the concept of a sprint, right? It's like we're going all out for a short period of time. And those of us who've been practitioners know that you can't sprint over and over and over. It's not sustainable. So a lot of the topics that we're going to talk about, I've got tremendous breadth in this track. I mean, we've got things that start right here and then things that cover the world. So in our track, we'll be talking about, am I built for change? And a lot of these things that we've learned, especially through COVID now, right? Where we've really been forced to change things and live in different ways and try to find those balances. And maybe we found ourselves being stretched in unhealthy ways where we can't really sustain ourselves or our teams. Jariatu Manzure talks about being selflessly selfish. We've got topics on sustaining your self-esteem, changing your behavior to work better in our ecosystems. There's obvious, and as we start on the inside, we start kind of growing out. We start talking about things that we can do with teams, things that teams can do to change how they operate to make sure that they can be more sustainable. Talk about leadership. We've got a couple of topics on leadership, different styles of leadership, which again, can help support all that sustainability for a team. And finally, on the last day, we go to the edges here. We talked about much larger topics, how to become more socially, environmentally, and economically sustainable. And we've got a wonderful example of how there's one company out there today in Germany who is leveraging Agile concepts that actually help with the sustainability of the earth through the way that we manufacture. I hope that people get a lot of value or get a fraction of the value out of the sustainability track that I've gotten out of it.
Wow, I cannot wait. Especially concrete is one of the most controversial items because of the amount of energy and the degrees that it requires. There is only certain fuels that can reach to it. So yeah, I'm already like this for some of the content. So tell us. So for us, the audience, how would you like us to get involved during the days, before the days, after the days, where we need to go? How would you expect us to get involved and engage with the different tracks? Helen, maybe would you like to give us a bit of that? What do we do?
What do we do? Right. So I think the first thing first is like check out the timeline, the setting for the tracks when it comes out. So when we publish when the talks are going to be, then go and look at that. Plan your days out. If you haven't purchased a ticket, then you'll get one chance to be able to see these talks, and all of them are of epic, excuse the pun, bad habit of mine, epic value. So yeah, watch out, plan your day, book some time in, and don't miss out. And I think that would probably be my top tip to most conferences, whether they are remote or in person. And hydrate. Bit of a health tip there.
Always,
yeah.
Always.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, Greg, any other tips and tricks?
I would say, I think if you can afford it, I know there's a free ticket. You go for free, you go attend. It's great. Share it with your friends. If you really want to dive into it later too, because it's a lot to absorb in 3 days, because there's 3 tracks and lots of good content. I'd recommend purchasing a ticket too, so you can view it later on and watch them later too. So if you can do that, it'd be great. If not, you get a free opportunity to go when everything comes out with the schedule. Figure out which things you can go to. I think they're all
love it.
And then report back to us.
This year as well, we experimenting to create a space for everybody beyond the summit. And that space is going to be around a Slack channel. And once you sign up and all of that, you'll get access. We already have some movement there because we have a channel just for welcoming. So you're going to meet plenty of peers from same industry, different parts of the world. So that's something I think is pretty unique. And also the fact that we're going to have that space beyond the summit, right? So aside of 3 intense days of content, you continue those connections, conversations, and that's, for me, incredible value space. So that's one of the things that we're gonna put in place this year. And if you sign up, you already have space for it. So.
I will add, we're working on a lean coffee at the end of each day. So we're just working out the logistics for that. But if you found your way to this session, or if you're watching this later and you found your way to agileonlinesummit.com, we will have a way there that you can know when those are happening and know how to register.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you mentioned that, Faye, as well. That's really important. We got the lean coffee, but we've also got something that I missed out a little bit earlier, was we have live sessions as well going on. So it's not just the tools, sustainability and happiness. We've got live sessions that Vasco will be running. So that's pretty exciting stuff. And then alongside that as well, to add to your schedule, is the coaching clinic is back with Bob Gallen. So I think that was that was an important tip from last year. Everybody enjoyed. So yeah, the coaching clinic is back. Has anybody got any further sort of insight into the coaching clinic? Because I know I wasn't able to attend previously, but it'd be good to hear more.
It also we end up often having just a group of people in the central room who share their thoughts about what they've been experiencing at the conference. So a lot of people say that it's a highlight of their conference experience.
I'm just gonna pop in the chat as well the notify me sections in YouTube. So we have the channel of YouTube, and you already see some of the work, small feedback loops that also we are doing. So slowly you're gonna see some of the work in progress that's going on behind the scenes. So I'll pop that in just a second. Now, we have few questions to go through also for the guys that are here. Then feel free just to pop the questions either in the chat or in the Q&A tab, really up to you. We'll have a good eye in either of the two. But one question, and who would like to pick this, from Heather, is about how to encourage the team and get more participation in retros. People often come up or don't offer suggestions for the problems they present. It's just like pulling the teeth. So I think everybody can relate to some past experience in the matter. Greg, I know you've been experimenting with something. Would you like to tell us about it?
Yeah, I can. It really comes down to preparation, right? If you think you're going to call on people cold during a retro to participate, you might not get what you want. If you're a Scrum Master, work with them ahead of time. Make sure they're all comfortable. Your first time doing it, do that process, that legwork that, I'll be honest with you, a lot of Scrum Masters and Agile coaches skip. And they go, oh, I'm just going to create a retro and everyone's going to participate because that's what I think in their mind. But they don't do the extra legwork to go and meet with each individual on their teams. Why we don't do multiple teams as Scrum Masters? Each one, find out what they're comfortable, how they would do, what they prefer, design your retros on that. I mean, I created a little fun thing, and the idea is that everyone doesn't have to say anything if they don't want to. They can put little stickies on it, participate, do some voting, because voting is usually less intrusive, and just coming through to the end what they all agree they want to do. And make it fun, by the way. Don't make it boring. Don't make it like I got 3 columns, put things in there, change it up. Like we talked about baseball, and I was really impressed with some of the concepts out there and just getting closer and doing different things. I mean, if you're going to work for a year, just think about it. You got, like, if you're doing a week-long sprint, you got 52. You got 26 retros to go through. It'll be fun. So that's what I'll just add to that.
So how did you sprinkle fun this morning?
How did I sprinkle fun today?
Yeah, as the playoffs start.
Oh, they already started 24 minutes ago. So I'm not watching the game. But I'm also working, right? So I actually took time off so I could watch the beginning and participate here. But yeah, and just sprinkle fun. I did do my retro, and I designed a mural board, and I sent it out to all my Scrum Masters today. And they all took it and made a template, and they just went with it. I'm like, good for you. So, I mean, that's how you do it, right? And you share it and let it be what it will be. And that's important. Don't keep it to yourself. Share.
Yeah, and another thing, kind of.
Sorry, is that mural board open? Can we have a look?
Well, that one was all for the company I'm supporting, but I'll have to create one. I have a picture. Okay. I got that. I put that on Twitter. It's on. I don't know if you can see it, but yeah. But that was an outline. It took me 5 minutes to draw an outline for the retro. And I put it up on the site too. You can watch me actually do it live if you want on 5 a.m. Master Scrum Show. And maybe I'll do a mural with it. But everyone can take it and adapt it to what they want. It doesn't take that much.
Yeah, make it, yeah. Helen, sorry.
No. I watched that this morning when you put it out, and it was brilliant. It brought me much joy. Just seeing your creating. So it was nice to see somebody else doing something similar.
Yeah, and I picked baseball because it's just baseball thing. But you could do cricket, you could do soccer, you could do football, you could do any sport, you could do any event that you want to do, and just adapt it. Right?
I think one of the important things about doing something fun and different is, for me, the reason that I do it is not because I just want to have a laugh all the time, or that's beneficial. It's because it takes people out of that space of work. Like, you're removing them and you're putting them in another space, and they can start to think differently and be a bit more creative and actually have that moment of pause And that's, that's why we do it. It's not, I say to my teams, like, it's not just, it's not just for us to have a feedback loop and learn things, but it's actually really important to give our brain a pause and take a moment. And that's actually okay, by the way. And some people are really surprised by that. And yeah, so.
And one of the recorded sessions, we actually talk about meditation to prep, so you can always be happy. So, like I said, it's a different everything, little pieces, how you get familiar, prepping your team. So,
yeah, totally. I've actually done breathing exercises with my team before. I don't know if it's before retro, before any meeting really. If people were super stressed out, we just come out of another meeting or whatever the circumstance is. It's like, okay, so anybody fancy just having a breathe, a breath, a breathe, whatever it is. And people are actually quite up for it. So.
I actually did that with a team that I've been working with recently. A few weeks ago, unfortunately, the company had some layoffs. So those were sort of announced on one day. And then I was meeting with this team the next day, and they lost someone from their team unexpectedly as part of the layoff. 5 minutes of chair yoga just to kind of center ourselves, and then started into the training session that we were doing that day. And I think it just sort of gave everybody a chance to exhale and then refocus.
It's important to ground. I think we don't give enough credit to it. Jumping meeting to meeting sometimes. So, any other thoughts or tricks? How do you guys look at retrospective? How you encourage participation? How you enable that all voices can be heard?
I like to put the focus on that, making sure that everyone has an opportunity to voice their concerns and take note of when people don't seem, not everybody is the kind of person who will raise their hand and say something out loud. And sometimes being online has even made that worse. So do I have other ways of capturing data from them that feels less like they're in the spotlight? So maybe trying some things that allow people to just put their notes out there without any kind of indication that it came from them, perhaps, or at least just let them have the space to gather their thoughts before they have to speak out loud to everyone else. If I saw that people also were maybe not participating, if like the whole team is not really participating, I would want to back up and say,
Ted Lasso, the first thing he does is he changes the shower heads, makes one small improvement. The retros have to produce change. It's not just a complaining session.
Right.
But additionally, the funny thing, Faye, you and I both jumped at the same time, and we have a single stream of conversation. One person can talk at a time. And people don't always like to jump in on that. So if we're trying to understand what people want, you were saying having those multiple streams, and the chat is great. I like Miro. I like playing around with different ways for multiple people to be able to express their ideas at the same time. Maybe you have people move items around and vote online. Maybe you have them type in comments, add pictures, like some way to kind of decorate what we're doing and making sure that you can allow all people to stay involved without just waiting for their chance to talk. Because there's usually somebody in every meeting who's going to do 50% of the talking. So how can you make it more democratic and inclusive?
Yeah, and I think on that point of talking, we talk about talking quite a lot. And one thing that I've noticed when I've observed retrospectives, when people are saying, I don't really get any action items out or any creativity, is that when the facilitator, the scrum master, whoever it is, says, okay, cool, write your ideas down, they then continue to talk throughout the whole thing. So they give them 5 minutes. And it's like, well, how on earth can you expect people to think and be creative if you're just going to talk? So be really conscious of maybe how much talking you're doing when
we got a minute left or whatever. Let the timer be your guide on that too, where you just be quiet, like you said, and let everyone do their thing.
When I'm in person, a lot of times I'll have just some background music playing, just so it sends a signal that this is our thinking time, not our talking time. Being aware that for some people, even the music is a distraction or interferes with their thinking, so just be mindful of that. But you can do it online as well.
Oh, and don't hesitate to ask for feedback on how well the retrospect went too.
Yeah.
Don't think that you can't later on go back. So what did you think? What you like, not like? Try to adjust from what your team is doing too.
Yeah, it's interesting, that point, actually, because there was a team I was working with a few years back, and I was doing all these what I thought were fun, creative retros, and done them for a couple of months. And they were like, we actually really just like to focus on those 3 columns. Like, they actually thought they wanted that. They wanted that creativity out of it, of like just having the simplicity of it. And I thought that's the first team that I've worked with that have preferred that way of doing it. So that feedback is really important, because you can put a lot of time and effort into being creative and doing things differently, and actually you're not doing this for yourself to get some pats on the back. You're doing this for the team,
and you allow the time for everybody else to do the journey of digestion that you had previously done. So in the way that we explain the things, in the way that how we keep them structured, similarities to do association, that also can help, because sometimes with the best intentions to create a fantastic framework, generating more confusion, and that potentially remove contribution. So we've been talking about how we help others for their voices to be heard. In the other side of the coin, we have another question as well, which is about how do you find your own voice as a Scrum Master, Agile coach, in the context of an organization that already has a senior consulting Agile coaches? What can we Scrum Master do in finding our own identity and style? Thoughts?
Well, I'd ask, what is a senior Agile coach? Because that's a new role. Maybe I'm being controversial there. Are we? Yeah. Anyway. However.
I think that it just, as an aside, that's a good call out, because there are organizations out there that see they employ almost a hierarchy. So Scrum Master, but senior Agile coach. I haven't seen that one yet, so I could see that if you were working inside a hierarchy like that, there's probably some pressure to, maybe do it the way others are telling you to do it, or something like that. So I thought this was an excellent question. It's a really thought-provoking question.
Master Scrum Master, no? Is that top of the ladder? But how when you land somewhere, some of us are working for ourselves or consulting, and in an organization already has a structure, a hierarchy, visible or not.
That when you are in that level, getting into a team Slack, some kind of chat mode that you have with the company, that you can share things that you created for your teams, and have other Scrum Masters might like that. Because like I said, I had one person who saw it, shared it, and said, hey, can I share with my team? I'm like, go for it. So that might help inspire you and get those creds inside the organization you are with, supplying and sharing with other people. So that's a way of doing that, with going around the hierarchy, because now you're in the ether. That's a great way of doing it too. If you're really worried about that hierarchy thing, just sharing stuff out. No one can fault you for sharing, a retro design. I mean, that's like the most harmless thing you could do, but that might get you more credibility into that. Go, oh, could you run this thing? You did a good job. And next thing you know, you're doing that too. And then set up some little micro conversations with other teammates. In fact, one of the things to do with my team, we have coaches and we chat, and we actually create a fun time just for the coaches to talk to each other. And just have that conversation. And actually started sharing that with my teams I coach, and they're creating little fun times with their people too. So there's a way of blossoming that and practicing that with a group of people, and to say, hey, I want to share this. What do you all think? You get a couple of close people in your organization and they'll back you.
The idea of the structure as well, the hierarchies, I like to look at them as starting points and not ending points. A lot about making the connections across the teams and talking about the things that you care about, like Greg said, experimenting with the things that you want to try and do different. The strongest organizations are not the ones that have the best hierarchies, but that are interconnected the most. And I think that's where the Scrum Masters really can find their own voice, because they can try different things and they can make the connections and they can make the contributions be meaningful because they've been listening to what the people are talking about and what they need. So, there's an old movie called Robots, an animated movie. And in that movie, one of the themes is find a need, fill a need. And I find that very motivating. So yeah, start off with the hierarchy that you may have, but never think that your ideas as a junior Scrum Master or a Scrum Master Associate level A.345 is going to limit what ideas you share out. That is your own fire. You need to let that one burn.
I want to go to the tools reference. If you're really in there, years ago, I created a couple dashboards in, I think it was Rally at the time. I did the same thing in Jira, and a very large company. Next thing I know, it's being used by 600 different teams across the companies, right? So this is where you find, like you said, a gap, like something you're missing that you want to create yourself, and maybe going to the tools stuff will give you some thoughts on that, how you can do that. And then people just caught on to it. It's, can you show what you do and how this works? And then you're teaching them how to use those tools you came up with. Because I'll be honest with you, I love tools, because not that I don't want to repeat what I have to do. If I have to look at 16 teams as a coach, I'm going in 1 minute. I'm done. I know exactly what's going on in 16 teams, and then I follow up with conversations, But that's another way of thinking that as going through that process. But you may go viral. You never know. The more you put out there, the more you're going to go viral within your own company. Yeah. That's happened a few times for me, to be honest with you.
I would also suggest some self-reflection, and a good exercise to start with is take an example like what Greg just described. So if you have a personal example like that, think of, write a paragraph down, scratch paper or notepad or whatever you do, and just write a paragraph describing that situation, like Greg just described what happened to him. Then try to identify the emotions that you had around that. How were you feeling when that happened? And start to look for patterns of the parts of that exercise that felt the best to you, and help maybe then hone in on the things that you like to do the most. So that could help you develop that identity. You could do the same for maybe a situation that didn't turn out as well as you wanted it to, and start to identify emotions around that, and then look to see if those are areas where that you might want to strengthen those skills.
Context is everything. You analyze and hopefully turn the thing around, especially if they are a kind of introvert. Dustin?
Yeah, I'd like to talk on that one and then throw it to others. I'm sure we all have some ideas on that. As I mentioned earlier, my personal mantra is understand, be understood. And I've had experiences with people that weren't really comfortable with talking out in meetings for whatever reason. Maybe they didn't have enough experience. Maybe they didn't feel confident. Maybe somebody else was always talking. I would set up recurring meetings like Greg said, right? Your job is to connect with people. So I would find ways to connect with those people. I had one scenario where I would meet with a guy every Tuesday evening, and he didn't really have any family. And that was his chance to make a connection with somebody and not be just work related. And we would just talk. And a lot of times I would just listen. And then you started to understand what they cared about. And then they would trust you. And then you would help them either share their message or help share the message for them. But again, it's not all process. This is not mechanical. We are humans dealing with other humans.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I think one of the big learnings that I had when I came from project management is it's not, you do this, you do that. We're just robots in being able to produce stuff. That actually the biggest change, the hardest change for me was if someone is struggling in the team, rather than just putting more pressure on them to just get it done, speak to them, organize a one, because if they're introvert, it doesn't really matter whether you're introvert, extrovert, whatever, reach out and just ask them, how's it going, is everything kind of okay? I mean, before I've said, I've noticed that maybe you felt what was the word, I can't remember, or I think I said, you may be a little bit snappy in the last meeting. It's really unusual for you to be, for that reaction to have, is everything okay? And usually, no, it's probably not okay, because I don't know, the cat's died that day, or something else will happen, or someone's just plonked another bit of work on them. And as Scrum Masters, Agile coaches, whatever in fact, I don't think it matters what your role is within the team. Yeah. We're all there to be able to help one another alleviate the work, and to help one another, show those signs. The last thing you want to be doing is coming to work and feeling stressed. And there's always, avoid labeling, because I know I can see in the questions there, you've talked about rottenness, and it's easy just to be like, the rotten apple and discontentment, but we're labeling something that actually isn't factual at this point. And it's important to try and, I think, take off labels and come with positive intent to understand, like, just exactly what.
Often be the first ones to notice something like that is happening, and how for the most part, they go to that space of, that person is behaving uncharacteristically. I hope they're okay. I hope everything's okay. I guess maybe I've been fortunate enough to work with a bunch of teams who tend to think of each other as human beings and want to look out for one another. Even if, like, even in those examples, like you were giving, maybe someone snapped, but they don't normally snap. So then for the most part, team members go to concern, caring about that person. Not always, but usually. So.
And just to go more onto that question, I think there's a difference between being an introvert and a rotten apple, right? Just because they're introvert doesn't mean they're a rotten apple, because they don't participate the way you expect, and they call it that, the ego of what you want other people to do. And I think you have to kind of divide that into different areas. And I had someone ask me a question the other day, and I was trying to part, what exactly is the issue? And is it this or that? Because they're two different things, and you treat and work on two different things, whether it be a rotten apple where they just hate Scrum, don't want to like their job, they're negative. You want to, and then just on that note, you don't want to disengage with them and ignore them, because it'll just get worse, right? You want to set up some one-on-one time outside the group, have a discussion, and find some middle ground. It may take a while to do it. Don't think it's going to happen like instantaneously with one little meeting, and then just have those conversations. And then with the introvert, again, you have session. What do you like to do? What's your, learn more about that person, get them involved, find out, maybe you have someone who and team's good, a senior person, maybe they can help mentor that person if they're young and new and they haven't been adapted, and create, this is one thing I don't see enough, is create an environment when you're doing stories and solutionizing, that you create that T shape. so that people are helping each other through the process, and they're just not like shoving it to them, going, "Here, do this," and they're like, "Oh my God, I don't want to volunteer because I'll get something," So there's all kinds of little things. I mean, you could dive deep into either issue, and every one of them is a different solution, to be honest with you, when they want the generic playbook. But
regardless of the level of tension, reminding myself of applying trust, compassion has worked a treat. We all different. Semantics is a new layer of understanding, and we all take words in different content. So I do hope that finding a word, finding a reminder can definitely help a lot in the way that you frame a situation, a conversation that it's about to happen. Okay, we almost had time, but I don't want to leave before you all tell us where can we find about more of the adventures that you are up to, about your work, how do we connect? We're going to do a pass the baton again. So Greg, would you like to go first?
Sure. If you search any social media engine for 5 a.m. Master Scrum, all one word, you'll find me. If you want to go join me on LinkedIn, Greg Master. I'm the Agile cheer. I put Agile cheerleader just to be a little different because I think this is fun. I want to enjoy it and make it more than just got to go to work. So you can contact me there, starting some groups and stuff like that. Definitely just chat me up on any of the social media, anywhere, podcasts, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. they're all out there. And if you're actually interested in doing a show with me, let me know. We can share some of your thoughts, because I do know as people want to grow, they want to share those kind of things. So feel free. We'll do an interview. We'll put you on all the channels. One day my son got 13 million views. He went viral doing his little thing. So you never know. If I can help you become famous, let's go for it. So you're more than welcome to chime out. And with that, I guess I'll go with Faye.
Behind with my career. Dustin.
Yeah, the easiest place is to find me on Twitter. Dustinson is my handle, DUSTINSON. Delta 3 Consulting is my company. It's the number 3, Delta 3 Consulting. If you go there, you can see the events I have, places I've spoke, and you could probably dive into some of the different sessions I've spoke at before, YouTube videos, podcasts, etc. if you'd like to learn more from that. A side project of mine has been modelingbetterDecisions.com. modelingbetterDecisions.com has it's becoming a repository for a lot of the models that I find myself and other coaches using to help show some structures that other people might have felt in their gut. So if you've done a job for a while and you start seeing some patterns and you have a hard time sharing it, maybe you can see a model on modelingbetterDecisions.com that reflects what you're thinking, and then you can share that with other people to help kind of get everybody on the same page. And also, please share other models that I should put out there. But Dustinson on Twitter is where we can start.
Cool. And then yeah, so from me, I'm trying to think. I really like that you have your tagline, so I'm going to share my tagline too, Clay. And mine is having fun whilst getting stuff done. Is kind of my motto, because I truly believe it. Where can you find me? I'm not as cool as these guys. I am on Twitter, but I don't use it that much. So I'm more of a LinkedIn gal. So Helen Garcia, Agile coach, Scrum Master, and coach, I think I'm under. So you can find me there. I co-host as well with Ines the virtual Agile Meetup as well. We have lots of different speakers on there. It's again quite a casual sort of setting where we all get together and talk about stuff. So
you're gonna have so many metaphors to go with. from a diver to ski, and some of the content relationship that it's going to talk us about the balance board and the different hats of Agile practitioners. So very excited about that one. In a month's time, we soon will publish. So keep an eye for that. Also, again, look out for Agile Online Summit. It's just a few weeks to go. We're going to roll up our sleeve. We still have lots to do. So looking forward to that. And I would just like to close saying thank you ever so much, you lot, to be here with us today to enlighten us for so many different topics in such a short amount of time. And also to the attendees, because without you, this wouldn't exist. So I see you very soon. Thank you.